I'm just waiting for Jasper to come on. Okay. So let's see.
Yay, okay. You can see me now.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. Your energy. Hi. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad I to feel your energy.
Yeah, I have been meditating a lot today, so
okay.
Get ready for this so that I have good energy.
Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative.
I want to kind of wait a little bit and see if a couple more people will get on, but in the meantime, I guess I'll just start with an introduction of how you and I met. So, so Jasper and I met through a masterclass online. So we've actually never even met in person. And through this masterclass was to teach us to use our voice and kind of share our story, with individuals one-on-one or with an audience. And every time Jasper shared one of her videos, I was touched. I was inspired every time. And so one of the things that we said we would do at the end of the masterclass was to hold each other accountable. And I am just so honored that I am able to help hold her accountable and she's able to help hold me accountable in doing this today. And I'm so honored that she is my first guest because she just has so much to share.
So when you get 1,000 million more guests, followers, then
we'll do it over. We'll have to do it over again. Because you'll have 100,000 too, so we'll have to, just.
So not for me, but just for I don't know, just so that people can get the message that they need, less vanity and more spreading love and healing. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So please.
No, you're fine.
I wanted to ask you quickly, what are your gender pronouns so that I don't misgender you?
I still go as female, so
she, her.
Yeah, so that's fine with me. And I don't want to. What is yours?
She, her is good for me too. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm done. You have a couple more people that have joined us. So hello, everyone.
For joining.
Just a brief overview of how Jasper and I met. I briefly mentioned that we met in a masterclass, and she inspired me so much with her story of inner child healing, tapping into your inner child, reparenting. And I've used the techniques a little bit. We weren't able to learn that much in the class, but so I'm going to be learning with you all. And I'm just really excited to be sharing this moment with this beautiful soul. So just welcome, Jasper. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Do you want to start a little bit with your story and then go into what reparenting is and the inner child?
Yeah, I can do that. So a little bit of my story. My story starts from my childhood. So there was a lot of childhood trauma that occurred in my life. From I think about 6 years old, there was some trigger warning, everyone. This is inner child healing and this is reparenting. So we will talk about some heavy things. So it started off with my brother. He molested me when I was a very young child. And I would get up to use the restroom in the middle of the night every night. And I noticed that he would call me over when I would get up to use the restroom. And so I stopped going to the restroom and I wet the bed. And when I would wet the bed, my stepdad at the time would beat me every time. So without questioning, like, why is she doing this? What's going on? And so that led to a lot of me quieting my voice, sneaking to use the bathroom, sneaking to like hide my clothes, and just really shrinking down because there was no safety in telling my story and there was no safety in keeping it quiet. So I just learned from a very young age that if I was quiet, if I made myself small, if I put myself in the background, I could minimize the amount of damage that was happening. So all of this leads into me developing codependent relationships as an adult. I was in a relationship for about 8 years where some sexual assault had occurred. Towards the beginning, I think we were together about 3 years. And he would constantly ask me for sex, and I would say no, and I would say no. And eventually I would feel so guilty that I would say yes, and I would just lay there. Because I said yes, I did not realize that that was intimate partner violence until very far along in our relationship. Until about 5 years later, I left that relationship and wound up in another relationship that was highly, highly codependent. There was verbal abuse occurring that I did not realize. There was some sleep deprivation occurring that I didn't realize was contributing to me just making myself smaller and smaller and smaller. And so one day, I guess I came to the realization of all that had been happening and the patterns from when I was younger that led to all of this. And so I ended that last relationship and I was single and I was here in this apartment one night. After months after breaking up, I kind of would just find things to do every night. So I would go grocery shopping, or I would make sure that I had laundry, or I would find places to go and people to be with, and I would get really drunk and I would get really high, and it was not great. One night I forgot to plan things to do. And that was such a scary night for me because I had not been alone with myself at that point. And so I found myself just here in my apartment, just sitting on the floor, bawling my eyes out, just feeling so disconnected from myself and feeling so disappointed in myself that I had let things get to where they had gotten. And then that was the night that I learned to connect with my inner child and start the healing process.
Well, I just want to ask anyone that's watching right now, just do a wave or something if any of this resonates with you. We don't have to know anything personal, but I know for me, this definitely resonates. And it's one of the reasons why I want to learn more about tapping into my inner child and just being able to go through kind of able to just even remember the things that happened so that I can then work through it and figure out what needs to be relearned or how I need to comfort myself. So from there, I guess, where are you now? How from that point, where did you even learn about reparenting? Where are you with the self-love, and how connected are you with your inner child right now?
Okay, so I guess picking up from where I left off, being in my apartment. I had heard about reparenting. I didn't really know very much about it, but I was kind of just like, I think I can figure out what that means, context clues, right? Personally. So I did that. And I kind of like learned about it. I didn't really know too much about it. But when I was sitting on my apartment floor, I remembered the word. And I remembered inner child healing. And so I don't know, I was just bawling my eyes out. I saw a mirror on my floor and I picked it up and I looked at it and I didn't recognize myself. When I looked at myself, it was like I had never seen myself before. And I was seeing myself for the first time and it was really shocking. It was really jarring. And so I started to I felt my heart needed to hear certain things. And so I kind of just intuitively started to speak to myself and tell myself, you're very lovely. You're so wonderful. This is not your fault. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You are a light. And sometimes bad things happen. You are okay. You're here. Just giving myself the comforting words that I thought that I would need at that time. And kind of made it through the night in that way. And also I see you all waving. Thank you so much. So kind of just getting myself through the night in that way. I actually have some words that I wrote to myself that night on my wall that I keep above my bed every night. So when I talked to my inner child that night, it was like I was actually talking and I heard her say back to me, go away, I don't trust you. And that was so painful for me to hear, that I didn't trust myself. So I got a journal and I just put my pen to the paper and just words started spilling out of me. And it was almost like I was having a conversation with myself on the paper. So just apologizing to myself and listing all these times that I had betrayed myself and where I knew it and where I could have done better and I didn't. And then talking back to myself. And eventually we got to this point where, after hours, we got to this point where she told me these words that I wrote here. She said, you could never fail me. You don't have to be strong. If you're sad, it's okay. Be sad. I love you. You're beautiful when you cry and you're on your right path. And to hear that from such a small me was such a beautiful moment. And as soon as those words finished, my ears got hot, my face got hot, my body felt warm, and I felt this really beautiful, this amazing embrace that I had never felt before in my life. And and so we've had a connection ever since. And it's been really strong. Like on my way home today, I was so nervous, like you could see my pulse in my neck. And I was looking in the mirror, in the rearview mirror, and I was like, hey, look, you have a voice and it's beautiful. And I know that you've been silenced so many times in your life, but right now is the time to use your voice. And right now is the time to tell your story. And your story is amazing and you're going to do such a good job. And I kind of just get to that place where I talk to her like that. But that was a journey in itself.
Isn't it amazing, though, how afraid we are to initially talk about things that have happened to us in our life, and then you finally talk about it and people are like, that happened to me too. Like we have to remember that we're not the only ones that these things happen to. And if we continue to, swallow them down and not to say that we have to share them with everyone, but we can't really move to another place if we don't address some of these things. And as you were talking, one of the things, when you were sharing your story about how you got to this place, it's like you have to go through so much of the bad, and then you get to a point where your back is against the wall. You can't run away from it anymore. And that is like that moment when, you get that voice, it starts talking to you. You literally can't do it anymore. And like I remember for myself, I would have a tantrum. Because as a child, I wasn't allowed to have a tantrum. If I had a tantrum, it was, I'm going to give you something to cry about. So I allowed myself to actually have a tantrum. It's not like what a kid would do. I've described it to a couple of friends, and it's like an inner tantrum. It's like, I don't want to do that. So I just allowed myself to have the tantrum, and it feels great. But From there, would you say that you're at a place now of like self-love, and through this, like where it was journaling, was that one of the techniques that kind of got you there, or are there other techniques that you use? Can you talk a little bit more about the forgiveness portion?
Okay, so forgiveness. Okay, so techniques, forgiveness. Okay, perfect. So I guess, forgiveness is a technique, right? So for me, it was a lot of forgiveness with my brother. I tried to talk to him about that stuff before, but he is now somewhere on drugs. He just can't even begin to process. So coming to terms with that was really difficult. And so that took a lot of just me going back and saying, you know what? I personally don't know his life story, right? Because yeah, he's my brother, but he has a totally different life from me. And I don't know. I know that we were exposed to the same adults, and I know the things that happened to me could have happened to him. And maybe that's why he did what he did with me, right? And so, because I will never gain closure through talking with him directly, I kind of just had to learn to let that go. And for me, what that looked like was writing a letter to my younger self and going back to some of the moments that stuck, because I did a lot of blocking of my childhood just because I had gone through so much. So as things come up, I practice forgiveness, and I practice this technique where I sit with myself in meditation. I go back to those moments physically. And get as detailed as I can, and bring up as many emotions as I can, and talk to her through what she's going through as she's going through it, and make the bad people go away as she's going through it, in order to bring healing to those situations, which is also something that you do. I recommend for anyone who has to heal from any kind of traumas, be it childhood trauma, any traumas that happen in your adulthood, is EMDR. So with EMDR, you do the same thing, except there's a light that goes back and forth, and you follow the light, and it brings up the body memory, and it helps you to process through. So you go to the body memory, and I would recommend this. If you have access to a therapist that has EMDR, definitely do it in tandem to this work as well, because it will bring up things past that session. And so I remember one time we went back to, there was something that happened in the shower, and I was playing in the shower, and I didn't expect anyone. Yeah, I see King of Pentacles. EMDR is dope. So I was playing in the shower. I was kind of just in my own world. And for some reason, my brother had the master bedroom with my little brother and sister. And so the bathroom that we used was in there. And one day he came into the bathroom as I was sitting in the shower playing, like it was a bathtub, and he got naked, he came and he got in with me. And I just remember feeling so much guilt that I didn't say anything. And my sister came and she found him in there, and then she went and told my mom, and she kind of didn't really handle it very well. And so with EMDR, I was able to go back to that moment. And the first thing it does is it brings up all of those negative things that happen. So all those negative thoughts, like, why didn't you defend yourself? And if it's something like, you're so stupid, or for me, it was just like, you were so weak, like you were so weak. And it would come up all the time, like I think you go through like a couple of sessions. They're about, I think, a minute long each or something like that, where the light's going back and forth. And so as you start to go through the sessions, they just ask you, how do you feel? And what are you thinking? And eventually, and I have absolutely no idea how this works because I'm not trained in this, but eventually you go back to the moment, and you're compassionate with yourself, and you talk yourself through in a positive way. And you start to get to a place where you realize, and and your body processes all those emotions, and you realize, oh, I really wasn't at fault there. And I really wasn't bad, and I wasn't dirty, or, that thing didn't have anything to do with me at all. So that was something that was really beautiful. And that was one technique that I did use in tandem with some other things that I did on my own as well.
So it sounds like you had to do some self-forgiveness too.
Oh, hell yeah, you have to, especially like as a sexual assault survivor. And I don't know your story, but I know that a lot of women and femme-identified people go through that frequently. And so I don't know what your story is, but there's like, somehow we get this narrative, especially when it has to do with within your family, that it's your fault, or that you could have done something different, or that you were somehow bad, you made it happen.
So my story is that I can't even say if it was molestation, because it happened when I was a little girl, and it was another little girl that.
Yeah, my brother was 3 years older than me.
Yeah, so it's like, but I mean, it wasn't family. So it's like the part that I really have to forgive myself with is, how I handled it moving forward, things that I may have done, how I played the villain in other people's stories, but it started from that one incident. So, this goes back to even allowing myself to remember those things. in order to get to the next level of, how is this blocking my life? How has this hindered, relationships? I mean, I'm just now realizing that that's been a major issue that I haven't resolved. And in order for me to really, be in a loving, safe and committed relationship, that's something that I have to work through, self-soothe, go back to the self-loving. I've talked to myself about the fact that, I was a little girl. None of this happened in any of my adult years. Everything happened when I was younger. So I had to forgive myself for allowing it to happen. I had to forgive myself for being a participant as well. So, again, this is why your story and these techniques resonate with me, and why I was just so blown away every time, you would post one of your messages in our group. So how far would you say you've come with the self-love portion of this?
So freaking far. Like, it's such a beautiful, my life is like so euphoric now because of just me being able to, just me living in gratitude and living in love for my story, for every part of it, right? Even those parts, even those bad parts, and practicing that forgiveness with myself and practicing that forgiveness with others and seeing their humanity through their atrocities, right? And so, and in doing that, that allowed me to see myself more humanely, and just get to a place where I have so much confidence now. Like, there was so much that I would allow in my life just because of lack of confidence, just because of, I'm so dirty, no one will love me, or, if I don't give them what they want, then they won't stay around. And so, after coming out of that and doing a lot of processing on a lot of situations, both in childhood and adulthood, which the work is never done, but just doing so much of it in such a short period of time has helped me. My self-esteem is like through the fucking roof. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Through the roof. And
how long is that?
I would say it's been about 8 or 9 months since I started really getting into, I had been working on healing for so long in my life. And I have all these beautiful things that I've done. Like, for instance, right now you're sitting on top of my gratitude box. Because, I don't have a little tripod. You feel me? Like, I don't have that. So
I've got this propped up against my laptop.
Come on, props. I feel you. And so, like, I have this gratitude box where every day I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. So 3 things that I'm thankful for. I write down at least 3 things that I would like to release and at least 3 things that I would like to manifest in my life. So that helped a lot with the process of the forgiveness. Because just allowing myself to see, you have so much to be thankful for. Like, your story's not over yet. You have so much life ahead of you. It's okay for you to release that burden. Give it to the people who put it onto you and allow them to bear the weight of that energy and allow them to bear the weight of their own actions. So that was one thing that really helped me. And we can go through all of the things at one point if you want to. I know I keep sprinkling it in there. But so all of that really helped to shoot my love for myself through the roof, because it helps me to see, like, I'm doing the damn thing, like, on my own. And that is something to be proud of.
It's like, finding your voice and realizing that you have a voice, and that it's okay to say yes. It's okay to say no. I'm still learning how to say no as a sentence, no period.
Hey, well, stop. Don't explain it. I do that. I'm not going to. I do that.
But it's like, when you learn how to do that, and I don't know, has anyone else had trouble saying no, or is it easy for you? If it is easy for you, please tap in the chat here.
I know, right? If it's easy for you. But if it's easy for you to say no and not say yes enough too, because that's another way that we punish ourselves.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah.
So we have talked about we talked about the reparenting, but I think we kind of skipped over it. If you can give one important.
Oh my gosh! Can I like take? Yes, reparenting is the first. So inner child healing is like the really heavy. Yes, I see you. It is very hard. It is hard. But it's like I think in order to explain reparenting, I kind of need to go into inner child healing. So with the inner child healing, there's like you have to establish a connection, like a clear connection with your inner child, because a lot of times these things that we do to self-sabotage and these things that we do to hold ourselves back it's not really us. It's our inner child who was voiceless, who didn't get their voice, who wanted to take opportunities, but were cut down and were told you can't do that. So that child internalized that narrative. And so it became, my little nose ring is making my nose itch. I'm sorry, y'all. So it becomes like this thing where like we start to hold ourselves back and we start to like pigeonhole ourselves, and it's not us, it's our inner child, because that baby is scared and that baby has healing to do. And so stop running, turning around and facing it is what's going to get it to like get you to see it, so that it's not chasing you. It's not always chasing you. And so that was what that night was. It was like the point where I stopped running away and started embracing and picking those things apart. And as I was doing that, and I established this voice, this clear connection between my inner child and I noticed that like she's so much feistier than she was when I was a child, like when I was an actual child, because I'm giving her the space to have a voice and be confident and like to be secure. And so I noticed like sometimes I want to get like work done, or I need to do like in our class that we took together, like we'd have to do videos, right? And she'd be like, I don't want to do a video right now, so I'm not going to do it right now. And I would have to literally like get in the mirror, right? And I would say, hey, I know you don't want to do this video right now, but this is like going to help you do this, and it's going to help you do that, and it's going to be so amazing, and you're going to feel so good when you're done. So I know you just want to go to sleep, but let's do this video, and then we'll go to sleep after. We'll do whatever you want to do after. And so that led to like me allowing myself to color. I have like stuffed animals like that I leave on my bed because she likes stuffed animals, just doing these little things. Like I went to a park one time and just did cartwheels because she wanted to do cartwheels. Like I just heard this voice. I was like, I want to do cartwheels. And I was so scared, like me, this adult person, but she was like, no, we're doing cartwheels. And as the mom, right? Like as the mom, I can't very well tell my child, no, you can't do that. Like that would be me doing the same thing that was done to me by the adults that I was exposed to. So I was like, okay, you want to flip? We flipping. You want to take a class on speaking? We're doing that. You want to talk about inner child healing? Let's do that.
So through these examples, I'm seeing that like through the mirror work, it's literally you, the parent, now soothing the inner child, soothing that child.
Yeah. Exactly.
Doing the cartwheels, it's you allowing as the parent, not inhibiting that child from being her true self.
Yeah, from being a child.
From being a child. I can resonate with that too. There's definitely parts of me. Yeah. I think I'm giving in to my inner child a lot these days, though.
Yes. You want work, and I boost your confidence. I'm sure it boosted your confidence so much.
Yeah, it does. So here's one thing I want to know for you, and I think maybe someone else wants to know. When you talk about, your inner child and speaking to her and hearing her, what does that look like? What does it sound like? How do you know when you've actually tapped into her? Is it a feeling? Are there words? Is it emotion?
I think it depends on how you process. So for me, what's really important is when I'm getting really anxious, or when I'm really afraid, or when I'm like really, really like jittery excited, I know that like that's her. That's how she shows up, because I remember feeling like those extreme feelings as a kid. And the way that I established my connection with her was just with my hands and like, hands over my heart, and just breathing into that feeling, and which I would like to walk some of you through after we finish this, but just connecting to her world. So what I did is, I'm a big spiritual lady, okay? And I'm so some of this stuff is not going to hit for some of y'all maybe, but I'm a big believer that we live
before, so we're good.
Right. Okay. I got my altar right there. Okay. So, so I'm a big believer in that we live in this holographic universe. Like every moment contains all the moments that we have ever lived. And so I remember when I was a kid, I had an imaginary friend, and I would always be with this imaginary friend, and like my mom thought it was weird. Everyone thought it was weird. But one day, I don't know, I had just like this feeling, this intuitive feeling that I was my imaginary friend. And so what I did was I went back to that moment. Like when I had that intuitive hit, I went back to that moment. I went back to my heart space. I breathed in. I remembered a time that I could remember I could remember being sad, but wanting to talk to my imaginary friend. And I think at this point, I hadn't established a connection with an imaginary friend. And so I went there, and I was hurting so badly. And I remember, because it was like when the abuse had just started, and I told her, like, if you want to play, you can play with me, and I will be your friend, and I will come here whenever you need me. If you ever need guidance, if you ever need to just laugh, if you ever want to have fun, then call on me, and I will be there for you. And I remember just like, it was such a weird, and everyone obviously won't have this experience, but for me, it was just like this knowing, and then me being there in present time was like, wow, it felt very much like my reality. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Does that answer your question? Because, I was going my question. Yeah, so I could feel her in
your body.
Feel her heart.
Yeah. The anxiety, or the, you just get a feeling. And I'm sure that would be different for everyone. And when we get into this meditation, Jasper is going to bless us with a meditation at the end of this. And for anyone who hasn't meditated or doesn't meditate, I encourage you to try it, and just feel your body, feel the sensations. Think of, focus, or not even focus, just be aware of the thoughts that are coming into your head. Are you thinking about what you have to do after this? Are you thinking about how long is this going to last? Are you, thinking about what you've learned today? Does your back hurt? Does your arm hurt? Does your body feel good? Do you feel, all these things? Just kind of be aware of your body during this time. But I don't want to rush her. But if anyone has any questions, we would love to answer any of your questions. But before we do that, or as you all are asking your questions, do you have anything else that you would like to share with us regarding any of these techniques?
I totally would. Go. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, what do you think is the most important thing, or the most, what has been most important or most impactful for you in this whole journey of inner healing, inner child healing? And, you talked about the EMDR and then meditations and things like that. But would you say that one of those or something else has been more impactful than the other?
I would say the things that have been the most helpful, the things that are the most sustainable, are the things that are the most sustainable. So EMDR is wonderful, but if you don't have access, then what does that do for you? Writing is great, but if you can't make time to do that, then what good does that do for you? So for me, like, we're always in our bodies. We can always connect with our heart space. So that has been the most instrumental, and that has been like the most instrumental technique that I have used, and that I use all the time. I literally use it all the time. In the morning, I talk to myself. At night, I talk to myself while I'm at work. And so I would say anything that has to do with your body. So tapping into your heart space, breathing into your heart space, quieting your mind enough so that you can hear the voice. it would be like things like flipping when you want to flip, or dancing when you want to dance, or just doing anything silly when you want to. Those things like, hey, I don't want to get up and brush my teeth right now, but we have to take care of our mouths, so let's brush our teeth. Like, those things have been the things that have been the most important. And also changing my self-talk, right? Because the voice that we hear in our minds, telling us that we can't, that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy. If we really listen to those voices, they actually are not us. So learning to confront those thoughts in real time, those have been the things that have helped the most, to where my whole self-talk now is totally different. There's no negativity. And when there is, it's, I can catch it like that. I can tell who it came from, where I can tell where the messaging came from, and why it's not me. And then I can release that back to that person who gave that to me, because that's your burden to carry. So yeah, those have been the most helpful for me.
Wow. So for me, that last little bit was like very instrumental, the self-talk, because self-talk goes with everything, not even just the inner child healing or the reparenting. Just, if you're saying something to yourself that you wouldn't say to somebody else, why would you say it to yourself?
Or to your child.
Or to your child, right?
Or to your child.
So it doesn't look like we have any questions. If everybody could, though, just give Jasper a lot of hearts right now. If you have enjoyed this and you've gotten some really good tips from this. And I guess, if you don't have anything else to share, we could go into the meditation. And I just wanted to get everyone to show some love in case you aren't able to stay on for the meditation, but we do encourage you to stay.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. You're very sweet, y'all.
I appreciate you too.
I appreciate you too. And I'm sending all of you all my love. And if this brings up anything for you that you feel that you cannot process on your own, please feel free to reach out to me. You're more than welcome to message me. Any affirmations? Yeah, for sure. Okay, so literally there's affirmations all over my apartment. So let's go on a tour. So the first affirmations that I have that are by my bed are: you have no obstacles, you cannot be stopped. I love you, you're beautiful, and you can do anything. I have you could never fail me. Although when you're doing affirmations, try not to bring up words like failure or any negative words, because you're taking in those words. And so you want to pour in the good things. I keep that there more as a reminder of the level of love that I have for myself. So I have these on my door, right? These are my beautiful affirmations. So every time I walk out of my apartment, I say my affirmations. You are whole, you are complete, especially as a recovering codependent person. It's so important to reinforce the wholeness and the completeness within yourself. Your willingness to be vulnerable makes you beautiful, especially as a Black woman. We don't really get the space to be soft and to be vulnerable. We're always supposed to be angry, and we're always supposed to be strong. And so that is really important to me, that I allow myself the space for that. You are more than your body. You are the most beautiful, powerful manifestation of Source, which is really important as a sexual assault survivor. You're more than your body. Mm-hmm. I am a divine, unique masterpiece. What? Ooh. I love it. You are worthy of compassion. Keep giving it, and it will return to you tenfold. And no hiding. Step forth, be seen, and rise. These ones are really, really important to me. And I also give myself not necessarily affirmations, but I remind myself to surrender to whatever I'm going through, to my feelings, whatever is happening in my life. I always remember that my story led me here to be this person, this beautiful spirit who can come to you right now and feel so much love and gratitude for myself and my situations. So those are my affirmations, and yeah, I do them all the time. I will twerk and do affirmations to myself, okay?
I remember remember the 3 questions that we had to write 7 answers to? Because that one really helped me. And I've been saying that I was going to change them because some of them I have overcome just because. But
yes.
Read those.
My sister just joined. Hi, sister. I love you so much. Sorry. I mean, I love you all, my sister. So me and my big sister, I love you so much. We didn't always have like the best relationship. And recently, through all of this healing that I've been doing, like on my part, it has healed so much. And I just feel so much love and so much gratitude for her. She is like my queen. I love her so much. So, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm about to go into a whole other thing on what you just said. But let me just say real quick that when we work on ourselves, we realize that it's so much easier for us to change ourselves than to try to change other people. But it's the hardest thing for us to look at ourselves in the mirror and see how we need to change in order for a situation to be better. So,
that's the hardest part. It's so easy to change other people. It's so easy to be like, oh, you're not doing this, or you're bad at that, or whatever. But like, why does that bother you?
Right.
What's that triggering in you?
What is it triggering? It's something that we need to work on within ourselves.
Yeah.
Before we go off on another tangent, what are those 3 questions?
So the funny thing is, before we did our class and we did the mirror work, I watched a video of Lisa's and I started doing this mirror work, which is what led me into being able to sit on that floor that night and connect with the mirror. So for everyone who, if you have like just some healing work that you want to do, or you want to just connect with yourself and your inner voice, good or bad, your inner child, your highest self, whichever parts of you that need to be connected to, so Lisa Nichols is a dope ass speaker, and she gave us this homework, which is it's called a mirror work, where every day we would look in the mirror and 7 things was a lot for me, but we would have to say 7 things for each of these 3 prompts. So one was, you say your name. So it's Jasper. I'm proud that you. So Jasper, I'm proud that you did this talk. Jasper, I'm proud that you took a chance on yourself and that you did that course, because look who I met through that. Jasper, I'm proud that you sang in your high school talent show. Like, it could be something so trivial. Jasper, I forgive you for, when I was a very young child, there was a baby bird and I thought the bird was going to kill me and I stepped on it. And I forgave myself for that. And I had to work through that, especially because I'm a vegan. So that was a whole thing for me. So I'm proud that you, whatever you did, I forgive you for whatever you need to forgive yourself for. And I commit to you that I will keep growing and taking opportunities as they come. Jasper, I commit to you that I'm going to look at you every day and tell you that I love you. So yeah, and I keep those here. They're on my altar. They're on my mirror in my bathroom. They're everywhere.
Yeah. So for everyone, that's those 3 questions, your name, I am proud of you for, I forgive you for, and I commit to you that. And under one of those, you write 7 things. So for me, I just wrote whatever came up. And a lot of those things, like reading them every day, because I had them in my bathroom right beside my mirror. So as I brush my teeth, I'm like, say it out loud to yourself. And I would recommend that you do it for 30 days. To redo mine, because I've overcome, or at least I'm more aware of things that I'm proud of, that I forgive myself for, and that.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That goes hand in hand with the affirmations. So, yeah. But does anyone else have any other questions for this lovely soul?
I see you. Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Do you know Lucrezia?
Yeah, that's actually, I don't know if you know, but Sarah did the class with us. And we connected. Yeah, so we connected. Thank you so much for joining and seeing what I talk about and what I do.
So I'm gonna try. I have never done a live on here, so I'm gonna try to save it and also post it to my YouTube page in case anyone didn't watch the whole thing, or if you want to share it with anyone. But I guess now we get into this level so much. And just remember, everybody, just, kind of feel into your body. Just, be aware of what you're thinking, what your body's feeling. And so.
Ooh, okay. So, if you can, wherever you are, just close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths with your hands over your heart. And just really breathe into that heart space. So a deep breath in, hold it, and let it out. And if you could, for me, remember a time in your childhood where you may have been really, really happy. You were so excited. You were so overjoyed. You were so elated. Or if it's easier for you to connect to a traumatic memory, go back there. That is very important. And just breathe into that moment. What were the sounds that you heard? Were there voices? Whose were they and what were they saying? Were there birds? What was there? What did you smell? Take a deep breath and just breathe in that smell. Was it warm? Was it cold? Remember that moment as you were in that moment. What were you wearing? Were you feeling achy? Did you feel the anxiety in your body? Were you excited? Allow yourself to really go there. What was happening? Why are you connecting to this memory? Were you playing? Was something not so great happening? What was happening? So engage all of your senses. What did you taste? What did you feel? Engage all of your senses and just breathe into this moment. And now it's your job to come into this moment as an adult, as you now. When you walk into that moment, what do you see? What do you feel? What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you hear? And notice yourself. And when you feel comfortable, when you feel ready, go over to your inner child and get on their level. Talk to them like they weren't talked to before. Ask them if they would like a hug. Ask them their name. Ask them how they're doing and what they need. And just breathe it in. Take in the moment. Interact with your inner child and have a conversation if you can. Do they need comfort? Are they really excited? They want to show you something? Really engage them and give them the attention that they need. And if you can, when you're ready, I want you to grab their attention. I want you to look them in the eye. And I want you to tell them that they are loved. I want you to promise them that you're going to be there for them. Tell them you're going to listen to their voice when they need to speak. Tell them that you are their friend. And you'll play when they want to play. You'll talk when they want to talk. When they need a hug, you'll be there. And in this moment, give yourself the biggest hug that you can. And just hug yourself so tight. And sit in that embrace. Remember from both ends what you feel like, what you smell like, what your voice sounds like. If you're feeling any sensations in your body of hot or cold, remember where that is. And imagine a golden, yellow, white light shooting from your heart into theirs, from their heart into yours. And establish that connection. Sit in that energy, sit in that light. And when you're ready, tell them that you have to go now, but that you're here, and all they need to do is call on you. And you're more than welcome to open your eyes gently when you're ready.
That was amazing.
Everyone, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, have you led a meditation before?
I did just now.
Before now.
No, I have not, but I would. So yeah, if you want me to meditation, call me.
Yeah, you should do one of those, guided meditation things and
You.
bless people with it.
How was that for you?
For me, it was great. Like, I have not done a meditation, tapping into my inner child. Well, I kind of have, but it was more of a soul connecting, like really connecting to my soul.
Yeah.
But I chose to remember like a really positive memory.
Yeah.
And it's one that I never, because I too blocked out my childhood. So it was interesting that when you said to think of something positive or not so positive or a traumatic situation, that I actually was able to think of something positive. It was really
nice. So beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was a moment that made me realize that, I was loved as a child. They did think about me. They did, want to do the best for me. So it was really nice. And then just comforting her, seeing her little self.
Like to see her is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Does anyone else have a beautiful moment just now with the meditation? Like, shouldn't she do this more often? I think that you should just offer this, like once a week, once every couple weeks, maybe once a month. I don't know.
Thank you so much for helping me tap into my own like gifts and my abilities, and for believing in a part of me that I'm still learning to believe in. I appreciate it very much.
I mean, you definitely have the talents and gifts, and you will be even more amazing once you really tap into it and believe and trust yourself. And
thank you so much.
Trust that. So, any final words?
For me, just remember that heart space connection that you have established. And I know we didn't really get to sit in it, but I hope that helps you to tap into. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. Y'all are amazing. But yeah, like, I forgot what I was saying because I'm just so flattered.
You said we have time to,
yeah, remember that connection. Because I don't know about you, but I know that once I established just that connection with my inner child, I hear her all the time. She's a little chatterbug, okay? She's always talking. She's talking right now. She's like, tell them my name. My name is Danny. And I was like, okay, girl. So everyone, her name is Danny, and she loves all of you so much. She's so funny. But yeah, so if you can remember that, so if you can't do the EMDR, if you don't have access to journaling for whatever reason, always remember that you have access to your body. You're in your body right now. You can always tap into your heart space.
Well, thank you for that. I think that, let me check all my notes. I think that we've covered everything. And I guess if anyone has any questions for you, they can just reach out to you and send you a DM right now.
Yeah, you can send me a DM, or if you're having trouble with establishing that connection, or if whatever you need, like, reach out to me. I will help you as best as I can. Yeah, we can do this together. We're supporting each other.
We'll be looking forward to these guided meditations as well.
So lovely. You're so lovely.
I'm really good at holding people accountable, so
I see. I love it. Thank you. I'm appreciative.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll be doing this again. Once we hit that 100,000, because we're gonna get there, and it's gonna have to be a revamp, because we're gonna be on at that point.
Yeah, new perspectives. I am down for it.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, and
thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I really hope that you all got as much out of this as I did, and maybe even more. So until the next time, we'll see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.